Welcome to the Totally Unreal Book Club Podcast, an improvised comedy podcast where everything's made up and the books aren't real. But we'll never admit that. Are you ready? Let's do it.
This book club is totally unreal.
Let's do it. Hey, I'm the host. That's me, willjwood. And today we have a table. And at this table there was a farmer, and he had a sheep, and that sheep is Caitlin Dawkins.
I hate peer pressure, and you should too.
And on that table farm, he also had a Stephen Marriott.
E-I-E-I-O.
And then in the back corner somewhere in a shed that doesn't see the light of day very often, but every now and then, like once every 3 months or so, he opens up the back to find azmattu.
Hi.
And that's and Bingo was his name-o.
And they put him down behind the shed.
Because he was heavy. They needed to rest
Oh,
their
yeah,
arms.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
We have a book this week. This week we're going to do a book like every other week.
Except for the weeks we don't do books.
So let's get going with Asia. What book did you bring for us last week to read to talk about this week?
So the book that I brought today is called Modge Podge and the Case of the Glossy.
It sure is. Now, the funny thing is, you'd think that this would be part of a series, but it's not.
It's not. No, I thought it's just
there's only
one
one
off.
I think
too bad.
I think the author, the author who is named
Mange.
Mange.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's very similar to Mans, but you know how to pick those authors.
Oh, Mans.
Well, it was in the same section
Forgot about Mans.
in
Yeah,
the
it's
library.
in the M section.
Alphabetical.
And
Yeah.
like Mange, just Mange.
Yeah. Well, see, my last name's Mattu, so I'm just kind of gravitate toward authors with an M in their last name. Preferably the first.
You mean in just their whole
M.A.
name?
Yeah. M.A. names, yeah.
You haven't
They're
found
the
my
best.
book there yet then, have you?
No, I have not.
M.A.R. It's
Haven't
coming
gone.
up.
Yeah, coming up.
So anyway, yeah, you'd think it would be a series. Modge Podge, of course. This is you would think that this would be like just a straight up murder mystery or sort of mystery solving book, but it is in fact more of like a it's kind of like Blue's Clues in the sense that it's like
It's interactive.
yeah.
Yeah, there's like little parts. There's a crossword puzzle sometimes in there, and it'll give you a clue to like the next thing or whatever. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then also also similar to Blue's Clues, Modge Podge is a dog, and the dog, it's a talking dog.
Oh, really?
Yes, really, like, you know, because you picked the book
Yeah.
and you were aware
Oh,
of
I
it.
thought you were talking about the show Blue's Clues, and I was like, there's a Modge Podge the dog in Blue's Clues. I'm like, that's a weird
No, Modge
coincidence.
Podge in Modge Podge and the Case of the Glossy
Lustia.
yeah, Luster.
Yeah, that.
You
French
mean
words.
Luster.
Lustia. Yeah, let's just call it luster. As you
Yeah.
know, French.
Anyway,
Yes, sorry,
this
my
book, so
bad.
Modge Podge is a dog.
Yes.
It's a German Shepherd crossed with a
Corn
Yorkshire
dog.
Terrier corn dog.
Yes. Yeah.
The rare Yorkshire Terrier corn dog. And so it's just it's an abysmal abomination of an animal.
But I feel like that's the reason why Mange probably developed that character. It's something that needs a little love, and I think everybody needs a little love, regardless of what they look
Now,
like.
I said Blue's Clues because that's a somewhat more relevant thing, but it's actually a
Right.
lot more similar to Wishbone.
I love that show.
Great show.
Most people listening to this
my
podcast
gosh.
probably have never heard of that. But Wishbone was a TV show. I think it was a Canadian
you're a millennial,
TV show.
you'll know
Maybe
it.
it was not.
I don't
but-
remember. I think it was on PBS though.
Oh, okay.
Story Wishbone.
Yeah, so
What's
it's about-
This you're thinking?
So it's about a dog who like
about?
reads books and then puts himself inside the books, sort
Which
of
I never
like what we
understood
do.
when he was like Robin Hood and there was Maid Marian. I'm like, how is that relationship gonna work?
Well,
like-
the video game Sonic 06 would like to have a word with you.
No, oh gosh, yeah, shoot.
For those who don't know, that Sonic the Hedgehog, the big blue hedgehog, has a love affair with a female of human
Descent?
stature.
It's on a TV show or a video game? Or?
It's a video
game, right? Yeah.
Huh.
Just Google Sonic 06.
I don't know if I want
There's a
to.
whole bunch of stuff you'll find out about that. But anyway, so Modge Podge. So it's like Wishbone in that,
Talking
it's
dog.
it's a series with one book in it about a dog who solves mysteries,
Yep.
Blue's Clues style, and
Yep.
in that, by that I mean there's interactive stuff in the book. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It
kind
moves
of
on
keeps
to
your
the other.
attention on the
Yeah.
book.
So and then Modge Podge, of course, is a Yorkshire corn shepherd.
Yep, that's the breed name.
That's the gist of it.
Corn
Yeah.
shepherd.
Yeah, or Yorkins for short.
Yorkins. I like that. Going forward, Yorkins.
Well,
Modge Podge, the Yorkins.
Modge Podge the Yorkins.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Modge Podge was based on Mange's original dog that he actually adopted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
he went down to the local
And
shelter.
his name was Yorkins.
Yorkins was the dog?
Yeah, it was the name of the dog, of
Yeah.
Modge's dog.
Yeah, and
Right.
I've seen pictures of it, and it is the most ugliest thing.
Yeah, because
I've ever seen.
it's a pug.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a straight up pug.
Yorkins the pug.
but it's just those eyes.
That's
It's like
that's what
summoning
pugs
the
are.
devil. Like I swear,
Side note:
Yeah.
pugs were bred to be that way, and it's actually
which is unfortunate.
they actually are not really that well equipped to surviving.
no.
No,
Well,
no.
they're inbred now and overbred to the point of being really unhealthy dogs.
Yeah, well, when you see like a pack of wild dogs, like it's never a pug. A pug is not a representative of a wild dog.
No,
I would
because a
love
pack.
to see a herd of wild pugs running across the
God.
countryside.
Just
though.
snuffling and wheezing.
Like this derpy little look on their face.
We should probably
No, but we need to...
we should probably talk about the book. but-
Yeah,
Yeah.
before we get there, why he adopted this dog was because when he went into the shelter and he had to sign in, they read his name, they thought he was requesting a mangy dog. And so that was why the whole thing happened. And he's like, oh, this dog is like, that's not really who I wanted to adopt when I came in here, but
See, that's
yeah,
what
so
happened.
they saw
with-
the name Mangy, they thought Mangy,
Yeah.
and then of course they were at that time the shelter was under attack by a pack of wild pugs.
Yeah.
And so they just figured the easiest way to get rid of these pugs without killing them would be to adopt them out.
See, that's what happens to
Yeah.
like East Indian people and their names. It's just like they're just like mangy, okay, and it's like no, it's mange, and it's like
And you can say that.
I can say that, yes, because I am a proud East Indian. So yeah,
You are of the East Indian
I am
descent.
of the East Indian descent.
I'm
Yes.
looking right at you, and the story checks out.
Yeah,
I just realized also when you get to the MAR section in the library, your name's going to come right up after me.
I know.
Oh man, I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah.
Her name is M.A.T.
Yeah, no, mine is MAR.
She's gonna get to his book and
Oh,
then
it's
her
not
book
about
right
And then
that.
mine
after.
will be afterwards.
Alphabets will.
Yeah.
Unless you go backwards.
But we're not.
Okay. So anyway, I'm not a chicken. I'll talk about the book. Don't. Nobody calls me illiterate. Anyway, yeah. So Asia, go ahead.
Yeah.
Talk about your book, how it opened, or do you want to read? You just read the back of the book.
Read the back of the book. Okay. So Modge Podge and like glossy luster use on all
Not
surfaces.
Mod Podge. You're reading the back of a bottle of Mod Podge. I want you to
whoa.
read the back of the book, Modge Podge.
Steve, why did you give this to me, man?
It seemed appropriate.
You know,
Modge Podge and the case of the glossy
I'm
luster, which
joking.
has nothing to do with the bottle of Mod Podge on the table.
Yeah, sorry, my bad, of course. This book is a book for all generations. If you're looking for something with a little bit of a mystery, check, you got it. If you're a little bit
I like how
ADD
Czech is spelled Czech.
Yeah,
Because Modge Podge is a Czechoslovakian breed.
yes, indeed. I think he wanted to kind of have that homage to Modge Podge.
You mean Yorkins?
Homage to Modge Podge.
A Modge Podge homage.
To Yorkins, yes.
Anyway, so yeah, going back to the back of the book. If words aren't your bag, well, don't worry. There's plenty of puzzles in here and a drawing section for you too. Modge Podge is an adventure for the ages.
It also says, please store this book at room temperature.
That's very important, actually.
And do not swallow.
Yeah.
That's more just like advice for not being like a lady of the night.
Well, yeah. I also think it's just like, one of those.
No, that's relevant because Mange right, Mange, it was like vehemently against like any kind of like prostitution or like organized sex professions.
Yeah. No, he had a very hard stance on that for sure.
Yeah, it was quite solid.
Very. Some might say rock solid.
Some might.
Sometimes it would last for more than 4 hours.
And sometimes he'd have to go see a doctor for it to last longer than 24.
Yeah, due to his like just crippling rage issues.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah.
At least he had the dog though to kind of help a little bit with that.
Yeah.
Not in a sexual way, just with the anger. Because that would be weird.
Spoiler warning going up.
He pet that puppy.
Warning. Incoming spoiler. Warning. Incoming spoiler.
And now we're in spoilers because we had to.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a spoiler. It was really scary.
Well,
Are you okay, Caitlin? Are you good?
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
This is spoiler country. We don't take kindly to those spoilers around here.
Ooh.
I was going to pull some fly swatters out of the trunk of my car, but that's a different reference. Anyway.
Yeah. That makes more sense than my reference.
So there's not much story to this book because it is in many ways like a children's activity manual.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of the allure of it. Because
I think that's why it never became a series.
Well, yeah, because I think,
Most book series require like, story.
Well, I liked the color by numbers sections.
I know. Yeah, that's really
It
cool.
was really soothing.
Yeah.
Not to say that it doesn't have any story at all. Just that it's like the
Story
kind of
light.
it's like the kind of story you get in a Mario platformer.
Mario platformer. Oh, yeah. Like you just kind of make it up as you
have
go.
you have a slight motivation as to where you're going and why, and that's about it.
You have different worlds on the different pages that are all differently themed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you
section
flip
was my
the page
favorite.
in just the right way, you can get to a negative world, to a minus world.
What?
Yeah.
But
Not get there.
I think with that too,
It's
what's
called
nice,
reading another book.
But that means everyone's reading experience of this book and their interpretation of it is going to be different. Like, no Mario game is exactly the same. Like, sometimes you do just a run through without getting any coins. Sometimes you want to kill all the bad guys, right? So it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to approach the book, which is what I like
Have you played
about
a
it.
Mario game before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. You don't really
It's been a long time.
You don't really kill bad guys
You
in
squish
Mario.
Well, you squish them. I mean,
They're not bad guys.
Goombas and
Did you know that? Never mind.
The hammer guy?
This is Dahi's not here, so no one else will appreciate what I was about to say. Anyway, moving on. So let's
Like we do?
let's dive into the very brief amount of story that there is. So of course, the first page starts with a brief introduction to why you would be going through this activity book to begin with, and basically it talks about how Modge Podge was the runt of his litter, and he did not survive his brothers and sisters, like teasing, constant,
Belittlement.
and like
Couldn't stand
slashing of his paws and stuff, and
that
just, like,
that made me like, ugh.
biting
I
his
cried a little.
biting his eyeballs and things like that. So.
But they had little puppy teeth, so it was okay.
Yeah, so because he
playful.
couldn't hack it with them, he decided to leave the litter and break out on his own.
Yeah.
And then once he got some acne pads, he decided to try and get a job. But it's very hard for a dog, especially a dog that is a Yorkshire
Yorkin.
Yes.
Yorkins.
Well, a Yorkshire corn shepherd, but Yorkins for short. To find work, because this isn't Quahog, Rhode Island, and so he can't talk. I mean, he talks, but he talks to like other animals. He doesn't talk to people.
I
Yeah,
don't get the
that's what I got from it too. Is that
Family Guy.
he doesn't
Ryan is from Quahog.
speak the English.
No, he speaks dog, but it's translated to us in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he basically decides to go on a journey to find an apprenticeship. He's thinking maybe like in metal smithery, but
Metalwork.
Yeah.
but he'll also settle for like being a fisherman. Or
But see, those were all like super strong and like tough jobs, which because him being the runt of the litter,
the German
just,
Shepherd part of him was all for.
yeah.
But the corn dog part of him,
majority else, and the runt part
he
was like
feeling
no,
too
no
soggy
thanks.
for the task.
Well, the Yorkshire Terrier part was a little not up to the challenge, and the corn dog part of him just made him constantly.
Feel like he had a stick up his ass.
Yes.
Yeah.
and a little soggy.
Also, other dogs just really wanted to eat him all the time.
Yeah, so it just wasn't a good fit to be in those really high physical professions. So he ended up finding a detective agency, which really just kind of took pity on him because they're just like, well,
Well, yes, a dog
It's not a
detective,
bad thing.
a dog detective agency. Yeah.
Yeah.
In New Bark City.
yeah. And I think it also helped because the detective that hired him,
Sergeant Scruffles.
Well, he
yeah,
took him under
Sergeant
his wing.
Scruffles, yeah, and Sergeant Scruffles was blind, so I mean, he was kind of like, I'm not sure what I'm getting into,
This
but
is a good partnership.
you sound like you'll be okay. Little did he know what he looked like.
So the other thing with that is like all the other jobs that he tried to apply for that didn't happen, a bunch of that was because he was this runt and he had been living on the streets for a while. He had this really like matted fur, and they kept saying like,
Yeah.
you know what, you're a great candidate, but you just need more of like a glossy luster to your to your coat.
And while you talk and while you bring that up, this is the first part of the activity portion of the book where you actually have to circle ads in the paper for what type of job you want to,
Yeah.
go out for. It doesn't affect the story in any way, but
He
it's
still
just,
becomes a detective,
But it's just
you know.
it's just teaching millennials a life skill of how to get by without either without or having paid a lot of debt for a useless post-secondary degree.
I liked that bit because you could read all the little ads and like look at all the little details that
And
Madge
think about,
put in.
oh man, I really wish that these were jobs I could actually apply for because my particular business market is dry as shit.
I think my favorite in that ad section was, and I thought it was brilliant on Manj's part, is that he put a like man seeking woman type of an ad. It's like, needs to be between like this age and this age, look like this, has to be able to cook, like pretty standard stuff. And I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, and it said if you fit these requirements, please email me at the email at the end of this book.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of neat that Manj kind of put himself a little bit into the book. I mean, then that's the kind of thing you see some Indian people do sometimes too.
I heard a woman shot him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was shortly after this book came out.
but it was with a potato gun, so it wasn't that serious.
Still, though, it kind of left a pretty gnarly bruise. If you look online, like, it's pretty huge, like, underneath, like, the rib area.
Well,
it
she
was
shot it with a
enough-
whole potato. So.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you're kind of
Not one
like
of those Yukon
arguing
potatoes.
semantics.
Yeah.
Yes, it was only a potato gun, and yes, it was a little comical. It did still kill him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of like the murder, anything could be a murder weapon.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, though. Because I feel like Manj had a lot more.
You know
to
what? I
give.
just realized that's probably why this book didn't become a series.
You know
Makes
what?
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like he had a lot more to give, and at least he gave us this wonderful, book for us. So.
I egregiously disagree with everything you just said.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
I think it's a good thing that he was taken out so that we didn't have to suffer any more of these books.
Well, if we live in a country where we
like
can
it?
agree to disagree.
Oh no, I love this
So
book.
it's okay.
I love this book. It's a great book.
I'm not
I don't
following your logic
understand.
here then.
So, you circle the ads in the paper.
Yep.
And then you flip the page and the story continues.
Yeah,
So of course
and
he
it's like,
meets
well,
up
he's a
with
detective, so
Sergeant
what you did
Scruffles.
was fruitless. Fruitless? What's
yeah,
the word?
froofless because they
Froofless.
don't wear froofy pants
Yes.
No.
in this detective agency. It's actually on the door. It says Captain Scruffles, froofless detective agency, and then in parentheses, we don't wear froofy pants in this detective agency.
You know, with Sergeant Scruffles, I feel like when I was reading the book and doing the activities, I kept thinking that he sounded kind of like Smokey the Bear. It's like, only you can prevent forest fires. Like, I don't know.
Except it was more like
There we go. Your voice is deep enough for that.
I don't think Smokey the Bear has a consistent voice, but it's fine.
I don't know. That's the one I remember, where he's just like this weirdly buff bear. It's like, when the people were
Holding
totally
an
into
axe,
Robin Hood, the fox.
Wearing jean shorts.
Speaking of
jorts.
Speaking of
It's jorts.
Speaking of buff bears, that is when the first case opens up because Buffy the Bear walks into the detective agency and says,
Yeah, she's lost her cubs.
Yeah.
yes, her entire New York baseball team has gone missing.
She's the owner of the New York Cubs.
Chicago?
This is before they went to Chicago.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean New York. I meant New Bark. The New Bark.
New
Cubs.
Bark, yeah. But that's
Bark.
before they went to Chicago and then ended up winning the World
Not
Series.
Chicago.
I know.
Barcago.
Barcago. They
was
had that
Chibarco.
referendum not too long ago.
That's a different city, Steve.
Sorry.
That was planned for the
I suck at
sequel,
geography.
but it never happened due to just
Timely potato death.
I wasn't going to say untimely. I was just going to say So
Timely.
I was going to say unwarranted, but I don't know that that's true either. Anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't kill him.
Or did you?
So Buffy the Bear walks in looking for her missing New Bark Cubs, her missing baseball team. They've all gone missing the night before the big playoff series of
before the 7-game series
ball sports.
between the Counting Crows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's great when you play against the Counting Crows. They make a point of this in the book because you always know what the score is.
Yeah, because they're very good. They're
You
like,
also know how many people are in the stands and
How many balls have been thrown, how many strikes, et cetera.
all the statistics.
Yeah, they're really good at that. I think they kind of based they had a really good franchise. But yeah, so that ended up
This is
happening.
also where the next activity book comes because it's a little bit morbid, but on the page, basically, they just have all of Buffy's body parts in different spots, and you have to, reassemble him.
Yes, her.
Well, it's actually both because Buffy's gender is fluid and it changes.
That is right. Yeah, that is correct.
So let's just go with them then.
Them. Yeah, we'll say them. But this is a cool first case for Modge Podge because there's a chance for him to kind of prove himself to Sergeant Scruffles.
Right.
And
or herself.
Their self. Always
Prove themselves.
prove everything.
I thought Modge Podge was he.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Buffy.
No.
Sorry.
Modge Podge.
No,
Modge Podge
Modge
is a
Podge.
male.
It was a great case for Modge Podge. to
because Modge
prove
Podge is like,
himself.
okay, put me in, coach, and
Sorry.
Sergeant Scruffles is like,
In my
right.
defense, I
Sergeant
wasn't
Scruffles was like,
listening.
I'm not your coach, son.
Sergeant Scrapples is like, I don't speak dog.
And take off those froofy pants.
But he's blind, so
But
he
he's
doesn't,
blind.
he's just assuming they're
He's
fruity.
just-
You can hear them rustling.
Yes.
Fruffling.
Heightened sense of
Scruffling, if you will.
That's how
That's
you,
where he got
Buffy
his
was
name.
a bear.
It's like, I hear that
Highly
scruffling.
tuned to Scruffles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So once you assemble Buffy the Bear,
Yep.
depending on how you do it, it doesn't really matter. It's just fun.
I gave her feet for arms.
I gave them eyes where their butt should be.
Oh.
I did it all right, and then I colored it in anatomically correct.
My book was
I'm
missing
kind
a
of
few
boring,
pieces.
I guess.
It was
Oh,
kind
did
of
you get
like
it
a
from the
Picasso
library?
bear. I did, yeah.
That happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
after
good.
you assemble Buffy, then you go on the case to find the missing cubs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, you start by checking out, you don't have a choice. It's not like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I felt that it could have that
But
element.
basically, they have a choice in the book for the activity part where you can circle which one you want, but you go to the same one regardless.
Yeah.
Because they basically say you can either go to the sports stadium or you can go to the ball diamond.
Very
Spoiler
interesting choice
alert,
of
they're
words.
the same thing.
But you feel like you have agency in the book.
You feel like you have a choice, but you really
Not
don't.
Scruffle's agency, but reader agency.
Reader agency. And so so they went to the baseball park to kind of see what was going on.
That wasn't one of the options.
Well, it's the same thing. It's
Sports
semantics.
stadium or ball diamond.
Fine. The ball diamond.
Or sports stadium.
Or sports
The sports diamond.
Sports diamond. Ball stadium. Either way.
Sport ball.
Sport ball hitting with the bat. So they went to the stadium and they're checking everything like the dugout. They're following peanut trails. That was actually one of the first clues.
Well, the peanut trail led right to the dugout, which is where all the dogs buried the peanuts.
Yeah.
In the dugout.
It was a gruesome find for Modge Podge. He kind of had to go off to the side and, hork up a couple cookies. It was a very terrifying sight, and I thought that was, rattling for him.
And then he had to eat it again.
Yeah, because he couldn't litter on the ballpark.
And because he's a dog.
Especially because he's a Yorkins.
Yorkins are known for regurgitating.
And then
eating it again.
Just like all dogs, but Yorkins especially.
But I think the real turning point, which I thought was amazing, was they found the new Bart cubs locked in their locker room.
Yeah, because they turned around and looked at it.
Yeah, and they were all strung up by their jerseys and just hanging from the rafter of the
still alive, just hung by the back of their jersey.
Oh yeah, no,
there.
they did it to themselves. Yeah. It was part of their training.
Yeah,
it was like a hazing.
It was a hazing.
Yeah, but they each hung their teammates, and then the last guy kind of jumped up and hung himself, and then after about an hour of
that's a skill.
After an hour of celebrating and talking about it, they went, "Wait, how do we get down?"
So they were just waiting for somebody to find them.
Yeah.
And then I guess Buffy just
had no idea this hazing was going on.
Yeah.
Well, because
horrible. Hazing is bad, folks.
Yeah.
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 It's true.
Well,
little PSA.
I mean, Buffy just felt like a coach probably shouldn't go into their sports team's locker when they're getting ready and stuff.
Yeah.
She waited outside for a long time. They were waiting outside for quite a long time.
They're being respectful.
They as in Buffy, not they as in the team.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Buffy,
the team wasn't waiting outside; they were hung up inside.
Buffy didn't want to, step on any boundaries, and see anyone naked or anything. So.
And it's funny because they might have figured out that their team was in there if they had listened to the audio cues, help.
But here was the twist,
and
though.
the distant borking.
Yeah. Not only that, but also because they literally said come on, hurry up. Don't get hung up on things, let's just get out of here.
But the twist was that Buffy's actually deaf. So even if they were yelling help and all that, they couldn't have heard what was going on.
Yeah.
So the point is that Modge Podge finds the team and that's the end of that case.
Yeah, and what I thought was cool is at the end you could draw the little accommodation that he got from Sergeant Scuffles, which I thought was cool.
Well, before that, you actually get to draw the scene of them hung up,
which I think was kind of fun too.
So yeah,
leaves your imagination.
The picture had all the jerseys hanging. You just got to draw on the dog.
Fill in the dog.
It's a connect the dots for all the little nooses.
Connect the dogs.
You mean bear cubs, right? I drew them as bears because I thought they were bears.
They are dogs.
Oh, they're dogs. Dog bears.
Dog cubs.
Dog cubs.
Do you think a gender fluid bear would be able to coach a team of bears? That would just be way too much to handle. I don't know why I mentioned gender fluid. It would be too much to handle for anybody. Bears don't coach other bears.
Bears aren't a team player. Bears aren't team players.
I don't know. I just thought, in my head, I thought it'd be cool if they're all bears. But that's okay. To each his, that's what I love about the book. To each their own.
Yeah.
You can draw them any way you want. It's just that if you don't draw them as dogs, you're incorrect.
Yeah. Well. To each their own.
Yeah.
And then sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's all right. So this is when Modge Podge leaves the room. Modge, sorry. I had a little yeah. Leaves the room and
you can still call him Modge Podge. Modge Podge is his name.
No, I said Modge because I hadn't finished my word.
That's because you're looking at the bottle of Modge Podge, and I don't know why. It has nothing to do with any of this.
No, you're right. So yeah, they've solved the case. They're walking away, and Mr. Jones, one of the members of Counting Crows,
yes,
he walks up with a gray guitar and plays a song.
So he notices that they've done this excellent detective work, and he's like, "I have a case for you. Thank you for coming in here. I want to catch you before you go back to your office. I don't want to have to drive all the way downtown."
Yeah, I like this part because he's like, "Yeah, whenever I look at the television, I see me looking at your detective agency." So that's how I knew you were the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, "I would like you guys to help me find my gray guitar. It's been missing for many, many days.
Yeah, not the gray guitar he walked up with. That's a different gray guitar.
Yeah,
well, this
like
is
a
his
lot.
replacement one.
He's pretty sure that a yellow-haired flamenco dancer may have stolen it.
Yeah.
And it was neat, and I thought, and this is where the title comes in, and Modge, the dog, called it the case of the glossy luster.
Yeah, for the
Because
hair.
The finish on
for
the
the
guitar.
The finish of the guitar was just amazing.
and also because of the luster of the flamenco dancer's hair.
Right.
Yes.
But he also, after not getting those earlier jobs, Modge Podge wanted to find some way to like sleek his own hair down. So as soon as he found out about this like finish, he's like, oh, if we solve this case and I can snag a little bit of that luster from little old me, I can get whatever job I want. I don't have to be doing this detective stuff anymore.
Fix
Yeah,
that
he
little
could even-
ratty matty hair.
He also thought that if he bumped off the flamenco dancer, he might be able to take her place.
This is true.
Yes. It was
He
one
was
of
a
the dream
great
jobs
dancer.
that he had.
Yeah.
Other than being a smith worker and a fisherman.
Well, those
Or
were
a
just,
Smith fisherman.
those were just things he was okay with.
But his true
Fisherman?
But the
calling
flamenco
was
dance?
flamenco dancing.
Oh
Can
boy.
you blame him?
Yeah. But I mean, could you
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But boom, boom, boom.
I mean, he could rock like one of those dresses and what's it called? I keep thinking they're not maracas.
I know what you
Yes.
mean. The little like
Yes.
things.
Clam shells.
Castanets?
Yeah,
Castanets.
castanets.
Often
See,
made from
he learned
clam
about those
shells.
when he was fishing
Yeah.
because they said, "Oh, go cast a net."
And then he was like, and then that's why he got fired really
Yeah.
fast.
Well, because also he kept grabbing the clamshells and
Like this?
and just completely like just destroying the clams inside.
Yeah, so not only was he destroying like the product, but he wasn't even doing his job remotely properly.
He was also murdering all the clams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So at the end, and of course, being this book, the clams were all screaming, "Help me!" Yeah,
Tell Billy I love him!
pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god, he feels so cold and clammy.
Ah! And the funny part is you could draw that too. And there is also like a word search of all the clams that he killed, the names of them.
Well, the
Yeah.
word search were just
And-
like
in
were-
this flashback.
Shelley.
And it's circled like different letters in the word search that you filled out, and it spelled murder at the end.
yeah. Well, and also the word search had it had the names of the clams that you were murdering and the word murder, and it also just had like different ways you could write like different types of screams and
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of A's and H's in that section.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and there was also a G, like a few like rows
Yeah.
of G's and stuff like
That was
that.
good.
I liked the eek.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Eek. Very, very
5
quick,
E's.
to the point.
And a K.
Also, if you look at just the right way, you can literally write "I'm dead now."
yeah, you can actually.
Yep, I'm doing it right now.
So he decides he's
so
got to go
back
to the
on-
scene of where the gray guitar was last seen.
and before we get
Yes.
to that, we're gonna stop for a quick ad break.
Awesome.
Good timing.
So this episode is brought to you by Modge Podge. It's a fantastic sort of goopy substance you can use to put puzzles and stuff like together to make them like just become a solid piece, or you can use it to like glue fabrics and stuff together. And I have some on my table right now, but it's completely irrelevant to anything we're talking about today.
It's also brought to you by Checkmate's Animal Shelter. Come in and adopt a pug and try and keep him off the streets.
Also brought to you by hazing. Don't do it.
This episode is also brought to you by Blues Clues. Whose clues? Blues Clues.
Also brought to you by Counting Crow's accounting agency. Bring us your taxes and we'll tell you all the money that you lost.
Also brought to you by Blues Clarks. We're not really sure what it is, but it's a sponsor.
Also brought to you by Frilly Pants. The frillier, the better.
Also by Froofless Pants. The froofless, the better.
And finally, this episode is brought to you by the website www.froofypantsman/Yorkins Detective Agency bark. Smell you later.
Only you can prevent murder.
Yeah, that's also in the URL, but you have to figure out where to put it when you get in. And if you go to that website and enter in promo code TUBCpodcast, they will send you a free jar of Modge Podge.
The glossy kind.
Ooh.
Glossy luster.
So
But it's
pretty.
completely irrelevant to anything we're talking about
Yeah.
today.
Oh.
Yeah.
So back to the book.
Right. So he was going to wear the guitar
was
last
last seen. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a
Which-
katana shop.
In a katana shop.
yeah. Mr. Jones's katana shop, which is his side business.
I mean,
Yeah.
why not, right?
Well, Modge figured that it was most likely that Mr. Jones stole his own guitar, so why not check his own shop?
for the insurance money, it's always
Yeah.
for that.
Right, because the Counting Crows were, which is the Counting Crows baseball team. When
Yeah.
they on the side, they have their Counting Crows, which is their.
I'm
accounting
telling you,
agency.
this franchise, they did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
well,
were so good.
Mr. Jones was a well-known customer of the Accounting Crows because they also do insurance on the side. And, Modge Podge put 2 and 2 together and figured, well, these cases clearly line up with each other. And, the Accounting Crows look like they might be a little shady anyway. So,
Yeah. So,
FYI, the Accounting Crows and the Counting Crows baseball team, also all dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's kind of neat. Like the in the katana shop, there was like a little space there where you could draw like different types of swords and stuff like that.
I
did
drew a lot of-
Buster Sword.
I drew a lot of cucumbers.
Oh, cucumber swords,
Yeah.
refreshing. Refreshing as they slice you in half.
I prefer when you wait like 28 days and they become shriveled and small. Pickles.
I drew swords.
When they become pickles.
You can't just leave a cucumber out and wait for it to become a pickle. That's not how it works.
It's not like grapes and raisins.
Sometimes you buy like a thing of grapes and by the time you get to it at the end of the fridge because you've left it in there for a little while and you just have some grapes in the bottom.
You mean raisins?
Yeah, raisins. You just have some raisins. Speaking of which, I have grapes. This episode is also brought to you by grapes. We're going to eat some after.
Sounds grape. What you're saying, Steve?
No?
Well, say something.
Well, basically, it was at this point. I'm not Steve, but I figured you looked like you'd lost your place.
I
in the
just
book.
lost my page. I was doing one of those crosswords again, and
Aren't they
the
fun?
word spelt grape, and I was like, oh, how ironic.
I know.
So
very fun.
This was the point where in the katana shop, Modge Podge discovers a hidden room.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought that was like so
and
cool.
he opens the door, and it's an underground passage that leads all the way under the city and out to the back room of the Accounting Crow's office.
Because back in the day, Newbark used to be like a rum-run city.
Back when it was Old Bark.
Yeah, back when it was Old
Well, they
Bark.
just called it Bark.
And
Well, they called it Bark in the middle period, after Old Bark, but before New Bark.
Yeah, when they founded...
This happened in Old Bark.
Yeah, when they founded the city, they called it Old Bark.
yeah, because they knew it was going to be old one day.
Yeah, then after a while, when they got tired of that, they just named it Bark. Then they rebuilt it slightly, called it
And,
New Bark.
Newbark, because
Yeah.
it's all shiny and new. But yeah, there
You
are
might
rum
say
tunnels
glossy.
from back in the day.
From back in Old Bark.
Back in Old
Yeah.
Bark, yes. Not Bark, but Old Bark.
Well, the tunnels were still there during Bark.
Yes, they were, but
But they were
weren't really
built during Old
used
Bark, yes.
for rum back then. They're more for hookups areas.
Yeah, for people to just
Yeah.
get nasty.
Yeah. You can't do it on the streets, so do it underneath.
Doggy style.
That was actually the slogan of the...
It was like
When-
the welcome to Old Bark on their billboards. Welcome to Old Bark. Can't do it on the streets. Do it underneath.
that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Took the words right out of his mouth.
Yeah, anyway, so
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Modge Podge follows the tunnel, ends up in the Accounting Crow's back office,
Mm-hmm.
where there's just a dog pile going on.
Yeah, that was a little awkward, but Yeah,
Especially
he
for a
has-
children's book.
yeah, but he has to do his job, right? I think it was great because it highlights like the dirtiness of detective work, and I think Mange was great at kind of showing how realistic that lifestyle is, and
Yeah.
not doing kind of like the Blue's Clues where it's like it's all fun and game, folks. It's like no,
Also, to be clear, nobody says it was a children's book, it was an activity book.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
The front page, the front cover calls it an adult's activity book.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's very true.
but still, it portrays a more realistic version than what they show kids nowadays.
You may have been confused because under that it says for the kid and all of us. At
But
least-
Kinda how I
if
live
you
my
had a
day-to-day
library
life
book,
anyways.
it probably had a sticker on the front, so it might have just said for the kid and covered
Oh,
the rest
yeah.
of it. So
yeah,
adult activity book for the kid.
yeah.
They
Maybe
gotta,
never
they gotta learn
It's an
sometime.
activity
That's a
book.
coloring book that teaches kids, the birds and the bees.
That's actually how a lot of Southern America teaches sex ed.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's where most of Mange's sales actually came from. When I was doing research, was from South America. I think it was kind of neat. I mean, too bad.
Well, I didn't mean South America, the country. I meant the southern part of America.
South America is not a country.
Or not
That is
the
a continent.
Yes, I meant the continent.
Geography for the win!
It finally came.
I just said country because I was thinking of Brazil.
finally came up for you.
When people say South America, I just think of Brazil. I know South America isn't a country. I meant
Yeah.
continent. But what I meant when I said South America was the south part of America.
I got you.
Southern
Kind of like the
course.
difference. We live in Vancouver, right? People say North Van, and you'd think the city, but you could also just be talking about the northern part of the city of Vancouver.
Or the northern part
nobody
of a
says that.
van.
Well, we're currently in East Van. We're currently in Burnaby, right next to East Van.
So that'll be the left side of a van.
But West Van is a different city. But if you're on the western
Right.
part
Right side.
of
Right side.
Vancouver, you could also be in
The
West Van.
starboard side of a van.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, you
Say
can.
Western van.
It's still West Van.
No, West van is
You imagine a
different place.
western van? It's like a cowboy, like a van.
Okay, well, anybody who's not from Vancouver or Canada won't care about this conversation. That's fine, because we're definitely not padding out anything, because there's a book here that we totally read. So,
Right.
Anyways,
So the doggy pile is happening. Then they finish, and Modge Podge waits respectfully.
Yeah, and then
So
he
can
questions
accuse
them all.
them. I mean, question them.
Yeah, question them first.
yeah, so
before
there's
accusing.
26 dogs.
and
counting
3
crows.
bonus dogs.
And so he questions them all, and when he gets to dog 6,
He asks each of them if they've seen a great guitar, and they all say no.
except
No,
for the
no.
6th dog. Well,
Yeah.
the first 5 say no. The 6th dog says, yeah, here it is.
And here,
Yeah.
well, he said, well, it's not gray, it's red. And then Modge Podge realizes this counting crow is colorblind.
Well, actually, what he realizes is that it's actually Mr. Jones who's colorblind because he's also a dog.
Yes.
Mr. Jones is the one who's colorblind,
Yeah.
not
But the-
not the accounting
So
crow.
the guitar is gray, but the
Everything
counting
is
crow
gray.
thought it was
Everything
red.
is red.
No, the guitar is red. It's just that Mr. Jones thinks every guitar he sees is a gray guitar.
Yeah.
Because
We're all on the same page here.
No, Caitlin said that the guitar was actually red.
No, the guitar is gray. He says it's red.
No, the guitar is.
Because the counting crow is colorblind.
You read that right. It's backwards. The guitar is red.
But none of them
the
can
guitar-
tell what color it is because
So how
they're
do
all
we know
dogs
it's
and they
red?
all see
Everyone's a
gray,
dog.
so they're all happy.
Because
We
Mange
know
put
it's
that
red because we
description in.
color it that way in the activity part.
I
said
colored
it-
mine blue.
I colored mine gray.
They had a big letter R, so I just colored it red.
The point is, they know that.
Colored it
letters.
royal blue.
The point is, they know. Thank you, Jim. The point is, they know that this is the guitar because on the back of it, it says Mr. Jones' guitar.
Right.
Yeah. And then, as it turns out, the accounting crows also sideline as flamenco dancers. So, once he returns the guitar to Mr. Jones, he goes back to the accounting crows and asks if he could join them. And they begrudgingly accept.
Well, because he's rubbed the
Magic
guitar,
lamp,
the
which
guitar
brought out a genie, and then that was the wish he used to become a flamenco dancer, so they couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
But
And-
also the luster.
Yes.
I liked how the next page, so after he found the guitar, and then returned it to Mr. Jones, and now because he has his dream job of being a flamenco dancer,
Thanks to the genie.
thanks to the genie, it's neat that you have a activity part where you have to write his letter of resignation to Sergeant Scruffles. But even
it's like Mad Lib style.
but it's also, it teaches you Braille because Scruffles is blind. So you kind of have to,
So you'd have to do a Braille Mad Libs.
yes. And
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
The Braille,
Cool. I have no idea what I said.
I know,
But-
that's why I'm scared to show this to anybody that is blind, because I feel like they'd think it's bad.
Very valid possibility.
Yeah.
And so Modge Podge returns to the detective agency because he's still a detective as well as a flamenco dancer at that point. And he gets behind his desk. He does a couple little flamenco moves, and then he goes to open up his folder for the next case. And that is when a wild, gray-haired, mangy mutt runs in the door in a yellow like sort of lab coat with like these crazy like futuristic glasses and goes, Modge Podge, you gotta come back with me. And he's like, back where? And who the hell are you? And he's like, back to the ball diamond. And then the book ends.
Of course, his yellow jacket just looked gray to him because everything looked gray to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we knew it was yellow.
But yeah, that's
Because we colored it.
Yeah, we colored
Yeah.
it yellow.
I also was just watching Back to the Future Part 2.
I
so-
colored it lemon.
Ooh.
Anyway, so that's why, of course, you know, this was clearly going to be a series, possibly a trilogy.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate that
And then somebody
the
who's
potato death.
definitely not me in a dress
Right.
and fake potato chest.
You could rock heels, I think.
You would know.
Unfortunately.
Thank you all for listening to the Totally Unreal Book Club podcast, our weekly review podcast in association with the Voices of Anarchy, of which everyone here is also a member. You can check us out at www.voicesofanarchy.com, on Twitter and Instagram at tubcpodcast, and you can check us out on Patreon at tubcpodcast, where you can support the podcast for only $1. And you can check us out just literally everywhere else at TUBC Podcast. I want to thank the panel once again, and you can follow each of us on our personal Twitters at
caitlionroar.
Steve Marriott.
azmattu.
and willjwood. Thank you all again, and we'll see you next week.
Potato guns can be lethal.
Spud, yeah.
No more hazing.